Three, two, one. Okay. So, hi everyone, it's Abhijeet and with me is Rashmani Singh. I want to give a quick introduction about her. She completed her schooling from one of the most esteemed schools in India, which is Velen in Dehradun. Then she completed her graduation from the Lady Sri Ram College. She is very passionate about the universal education. She even has funded personally the underprivileged education, and then currently she is now managing director at Vahani Scholarship. So I am very honored and I'm very happy that you are with me today at the first podcast show. So basically, it will be a quick discussion about your life, about your journey, and you have a lot of wisdom with you, so we want to absorb. So thank you so much for being with us today, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Abhijeet. Thank you very much. And I'm actually privileged to be a part of your podcast and the first person that you will be talking to, and we're having a conversation on different topics. So, just to give you a quick background about myself, as you mentioned, I did go to Welham Girls High School in Dehradun, and it is an amazing institution, and I think I owe a lot to it because I am what I am today, a lot because of the school. And I also have to say I owe a lot to my parents. And the way they brought me up with the right values and with the empathy and compassion, they taught me always to be open minded, of course, and always stand up for the right, which I believed in, but always open to understanding another point of view, not just to be fixed on only my narrow vision or what I think is right or wrong, because there's always two sides to a coin, as there always is two sides to a story.
Yeah.
So one must know both and balance, learn the right balance. And I think I owe a lot to my parents. For that, my grandparents as well, because as a family, we have institutions in a place called Shivpuri where we run a school where we have underprivileged children studying on scholarships, and my family has been um, primary in starting a library for people, as well as getting guest lecturers, and as well as uh, running medical camps or whatever the need may be in the villages around the area in Madhya Pradesh. And I think I imbibed a lot of that. And actually, the Vahani scholarship fell into my lap at a time when I had the time, where I could devote time to an organization which actually is a passion with me personally. So I don't really treat it as a job. I treat it as my own personal challenge to meet the challenges every day, to be there for the scholars. And what drives me about Vahani Scholarship is that their understanding, the empathy of the family that started it, funding these children, and we open every year. We try and build our network. We expand our network of schools, and we also expand our area of our area of outreach and where we can impact and make a difference. So it's really a privilege, I would say, and awesome that I am with this organization right from day one. We started ground zero with the young lady, Riva Misra, who's now chairperson, and we set up and registered the whole organization, and then we started building up on our network. My alumni helped a lot, I have to say, because they actually connected me with a lot of schools, and then it just grew. It just grew by word of mouth. It grew by connections. It grew by networking and working hard and research, and keeping our eyes and ears open, reading newspaper articles, learning about new institutions, something like Shanti Bhavan in Bangalore that I read about. Happy Day School in Shivpuri is the school that my family runs. And then there are schools in Dehradun like Himjyoti, Purkul Youth Development Society, where I actually visited the schools. And that was thanks to Welham. Being in Dehradun at the time for my founders, and I was connected to the chairperson of both institutions. And since we have got several scholars and very deserving scholars from there.
So I believe you are. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
But that's basically the long and short of it. Yes.
So I believe you are currently living in Delhi, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how are the situations there during this pandemic? Because there are a lot of people. Even I am the one who wants to shift to Delhi, and there are a lot of people who are eyeing up to shift to Delhi. So how are the conditions there? Like current situation, should we shift to Delhi? Someone who is looking to shift to Delhi, should they shift now? Should they wait? Or if there is an emergency and if they have to shift, like how are the situations there?
So in Delhi, as far as the health perspective is taken, the numbers are growing because I think people are not disciplined enough. I don't think they're taking it seriously. When the lifting of the lockdown doesn't mean the disease has gone away. It just means we have to be more extra careful by carrying on
Yeah,
work. The Prime Minister had to open the economy and had to open up because there was a lot of criticism of
yeah,
his lockdown. I have to say I'm a firm believer that the lockdown did help, as in saving lives, and probably delayed the process, but it didn't.
yeah,
Obviously, nobody can take it away. As you
yeah,
can see in China, where the numbers were really down earlier, it's reoccurring. And because people just opened up and abandoned the norms. So I think if we practice social distancing and the norms that have been given to us during the lockdown was a way of discipline that we have to follow
yeah,
going forward. So we have to look after our health primarily, because if you're healthy, then you can carry on with work, get the job, go to school, graduate, cover all those things. But primarily, you have to look after yourselves and your family. And I would suggest social distancing. Going
yeah,
forward, we must maintain that. And if we do have to go out whenever it's necessary, then please wear masks and gloves
yeah.
and keep that social distancing. Do not
Yes,
abandon it carefree and follow the norms and the guidelines that the government has given, because they
yes,
are trying to build up the infrastructure in the city. For instance, I'm taking Delhi now. We're
mm,
talking Delhi, where they've taken over a lot of hotels and
okay,
taken several floors in hotels to convert them into quarantine centers, or keeping them for doctors or medical people who are serving in the COVID wards, where the hospitals have been also taken over. And Max Saket in particular has uh,
okay,
has been successful in plasma theory, and I think they were the first to start it. So,
okay,
like doctors go there, I think they're there for a week, 10 days. Then they're taken to these centers in the hospital, hotels, and
mm,
other quarantine facilities. And
okay,
then there's that self isolation happens, and then they come
yeah,
back into the mainstream and are
yeah,
back in the medical profession in normal hospitals or going to do home visits. And
okay,
so I would just say that be careful, wash your hands, and
yeah.
follow the norms.
Yeah, I think
The
at least 1.5 to 2 months has to like be the period where we can't go there. We have to be safe. We have to be home because I think there is a news where Delhi government has announced that they won't be treating the people outside from Delhi because they're already occupied with so many patients there. Like,
That's
yeah,
correct. That's correct. And so that's why we have to look after ourselves and do not to overburden the hygiene
yeah,
and the medical facilities. So we have to maintain our hygiene, not overburden the doctors and the already overburdened, stretched healthcare.
yeah,
Because we were definitely keeping our population in mind. We are not prepared for this. I don't think
yeah,
any state can be
yeah,
here
yeah,
because of the
completely.
population problem
Yeah,
and because of the migration labor, migrant labor, as they call them, moving back into the villages, which were actually safe earlier, but they
yeah,
took back the infections with them. Isolation centers were there. Some people just didn't follow it, didn't even go and check in there. They just went straight home, not thinking of their family and what it would do to
yeah,
them. A lot of people are having social gatherings. It's quite
yeah,
funny, but people have forgotten, and they are. So I think they need to restrain
yeah,
themselves. They need to discipline themselves, learn to live with themselves. Innovate, do things, upskill themselves, but stay
mm,
home. Keep
yeah,
everybody stay safe. Stay home. Go out only
yeah,
when necessary. Certain work
yeah,
people have to go out. The media has to be out there to report and record,
yes,
but
completely.
they are practicing the social distancing, and so we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So,
So
was there any
yeah.
other area that you wanted to, Abhijit, touch on specifically?
Yeah, so one very important question which I believe because you are also connected with the education system right now. So how do you think this COVID-19 situation, this pandemic has, impacted our nation's education system. Because in the past couple of months, our whole education system has gone to, virtualization. Everything is going online. But there are
That's
there are people, there are unfortunate people as well who doesn't have access to that.
correct.
But what's done is done. But what's in hold for future for us? Like how this COVID-19 and then this online courses and online teaching, can we use it? Is it real for us? Can we use it in the future? Can it be helpful? I want to know your thoughts on it.
So I think, Abhijit, you've touched a very valid point. Post-COVID, education will see a definite shift. And as you mentioned yourself, virtual classes have been going on. The government has to do a rethink on the education system. We have to move to digitalization, which was coming in any case. It's
Yeah,
coming all over the world. So we have to
yeah,
keep up with the global universities and the global education systems. Online classes are being held. Smart classes have to be introduced. A lot of government schools have started doing that as well. Private schools were doing it in any case, but government
especially
schools have
Delhi,
started following the norm.
especially Delhi.
And in
Yeah,
Delhi specifically, the education minister has been very proactive. But the education minister at the center needs to be more proactive. We need to build on our infrastructure. We need to strengthen our connectivity in the rural areas. Today, everybody has a smartphone.
mm,
But the access to connectivity is the question. So
yes,
they need to have connectivity going out. We have 4G all over. So it's not that we are backward in that sense. We have the technology, we have the wherewithal, but we need to build and strengthen on it. That's one. When you have built your connectivity, anybody can study from anywhere, right? They can
yeah,
reach out to the online classes, to the online tutorials. But the students, coming to the students, they need to upskill themselves. They need to use this time positively, where they
yeah,
can do online courses for free on
yeah,
Coursera and UN Academy, and there's so many other platforms that are
yeah,
offering it. A lot of universities overseas are offering free online classes and upgrading yourself. So I think in India, I think what is the positive is that AI and the big data system is available at a lower cost today. So I think accessible to everybody. The data also is available quite reasonably, I believe, and is going to see further reductions. The teachers have to upskill themselves and change their way of teaching and thinking. So going into more research, the classes are going to become more student and teacher centric rather than being teacher centric, where the teacher
yes,
used to stand at the head of the class and then talk to the students, you know. So here it's going to be more proactive. It's going to teach the students to be more independent in their way of thinking and doing a lot of research on their own. For instance, I think we have to switch from rote learning more to thinking and creative
yes,
learning. You know,
yes,
so where a
yes,
point of view is, you can have your own point of view. A point of view is always correct. Everybody
yeah,
has their point of view. Now,
yeah,
whether you
that's right.
agree or disagree, that's the question. And
Yeah,
if you have a point of view, you must have enough data and research to strengthen it and back it up. So, for
yeah,
instance, if A person has a point of view, B person has to be convinced, but that A person has to have enough data and information to convince the A person
yeah,
that, look, what I'm telling you is right. So for going forward, for instance, AI is coming into the world all over. Data systems are coming into the world. So I think we have to be more technology oriented right from K to 12, and more science classes must be introduced. More skill classes need to be introduced, where the
yes,
students can upskill themselves and then beat that unemployment tag
yeah,
and the
yeah,
numbers. You know,
very
so if we
important.
are keeping with the times, we need to keep up with the times and change with the ever changing. It's changing every day. You know, so you
Interesting. Yeah,
have to update yourself. You have to, otherwise you're going to get left behind. You know,
yes,
and then
that's
you
what.
cannot blame anybody for that, because that change is coming world over. So to
Yeah,
save the unemployment, I think every student has to upskill him or herself, help themselves. If there is a connectivity issue in an area, try and reach out to a Vodafone or an Airtel or Geo, whoever the local supporter is, and the provider is. Look at them and reach out to them and say that, there's connectivity issues in our area. Perhaps you can build up. Reach out to the MLA, the MP. Try and work it out so that you can avail of what is being offered by the schools, because the schools are helpless, right? The government says no opening of schools and colleges, so they have to resort to online classes. And I have to say, DTU, for instance, I was quite surprised, is holding final year exams in July online. And for them, that's a big challenge, because their site, even when admissions are going on, it keeps crashing. And the volume of admissions that will come through Delhi University, for instance, from all over the country, it's a recognized university world over. And so I think people and students want to come here. And so the load is immense. And so we have to understand from the government's point of view as well, we have to be patient, and we cannot always blame the system. We need to take steps to perhaps change the system, but we have to do it rationally. I think we have to do it, we have to take steps. So step 1, step 2, upskill yourselves, keep up with the times constantly, think positive. And as we're entering the digital stage, I think we need to upskill ourselves for sure. In that, I need to upskill myself. You need to upskill yourself, and equip yourself that your product or you as a person are attractive to the market. So when you go out to the market looking for a job, you have all that the market wants. So
you have a complete product.
Yeah, constant research has to be done. Constant research. You have to reach out to every platform and try and help yourself and perhaps others. And perhaps if you get together in a group, there's more chances of your getting what you want, because the numbers definitely, make say your strength are your numbers, and they definitely make a statement.
So Rashmani ma'am, what I believe in today's world, one very important aspect is not social networking, but a networking, a personal networking. Because either you are in IT or you are in sales or in finance, you name the domain, but a very important aspect is a personal networking. And what I have heard and what I have seen myself is you are very good at networking. So I'm curious to know, and I want you to tell as well, because without this, you will eventually fail. Because networking is very important in nowadays. We as a human are social animal. So I want to know what are your habits, what are your practices, so that I'm sure you have evolved yourself into that role. You have evolved your habits. So I want to tell the audience, I want you to tell us how we can make ourselves better at social.
So yeah, Abhijeet, networking is a very important part of life, and I'm glad you brought this up. It's vital to anybody's existence. So let me start with just your social network, which is your circle of friends. I believe that the company that you keep will eventually make the man that you become. So surround yourself by intelligent people. Always be open to learning from them, and keep expanding your network as you go on, because right from school you have your friends, then you have college friends, then you have work professional friends, right? Because you've done a job. And so what you need to do is to keep up with them. Okay, that's a very important part of life. So my network actually, the design behind it or the idea behind it is always for my scholars. So I'm continuously searching in my alumni network, in my social network, dipping into my parents, my sisters, my family, my son, dipping into their resources, getting to know more people, and building up my network continuously, where I can reach out to different people in different fields of work, and following different disciplines, who have reached a certain level in their and been successful at what they do to create job opportunities and internship opportunities for my scholars. So my network is purely built up on that. It's very selfish, but it's true. I do tend to do that. So I'm continuously building it up on LinkedIn. I found that that was a very useful platform where I reach out to people that I don't know and tell them about Vahani scholarship and ask them to spread the awareness, A, and B, looking for job and internship opportunities for my scholars. So network is extremely important. For instance, if you are looking for a job and you tell me that Rashmani, I need a job in a field, perhaps the media, and I know people in the media, so I'll make sure that your CV reaches a desk. I can't promise a job because that's your own acumen and your own aptitude and a question of luck. Is there a vacancy? Are you the right person? Have you found the right fit? Are they looking for you? And then it's perfect. It's a hand in glove situation. So getting a CV onto anybody's desk is a great thing. I have to say it's difficult. So when you do that, remember that you have taken a favor from this friend or acquaintance or person that you know. In return, can you help them? So always keep that in mind, that when they reach out to you, please try and help them. So it's a two-way street where you know that, okay, I'm going to help this person because he or she has given my scholars a job opportunity or an internship opportunity, or even spoken to them, become mentors, counsel them. And in return, perhaps I can connect them to more people. They're doing this for me for free. Perhaps I can introduce them to people where they can make money and there's a job, there's what should I say, a connect there where they can benefit from being introduced to another organization that I know. So network, again, knowledge is power. So this network gives me the knowledge of knowing that a company has a vacancy open for a job. A B company has 2-3 vacancies for internships, and they're open to me because I know the person, and of course, some of them do say that, listen, just tell them to apply, and it's a question of first we'll interview them, and then if they're a good fit, then perfect, But sometimes it doesn't always work because they may not be looking and you're not the right fit, right? So you have to take that chance, but that's an outside chance that you have to take. But that doesn't mean you forget that person because that's happened today. But 6 months down the line, there will be an opening, right? So you have to explore that. As I said, you have to become trustworthy of the person to know that if Rashmani is suggesting somebody, that person is somebody that they can take with their eyes closed. They can depend on that person, and that person will deliver. So the integrity of the person is unquestionable because I have suggested that, and they trust me enough and they know me enough. And so I think that give and take is there. And then, as I said, that you have to maintain your relationships at all times.
Very important.
Keep in touch, wish them a happy birthday. These days, I think it's very important to know how everybody's health is. So as I was listening to an interview carried out on television, the person there was saying that these days the question is at board meetings and things, how are the employees? Rather than looking at a spreadsheet where they're looking at numbers, where the first quarter number is this, our growth is this, we've reached this target, and giving that data. They all want to know the wellness of the employees. And I think that's extremely important for an employer. It's unfortunate that some of our laborers had to go through pain because perhaps they were just let loose and left on their own. They had to make their own arrangements and get going, reach out home. And another thing is that a lot of them wanted to go back to their roots. Perhaps they don't have anything to go back to.
That's all.
Unfortunately, our country may not have looked after them. We are 70 years old, and I don't think we should have had this problem where so I think this government is trying to do a rethink where they're trying to see if they can actually create jobs of where these people belong because they want to go back home. Some of them are saying make the arrangements better so that they come back, give them attractive salaries, give them attractive security, give them attractive health packages. So the network, I think network is extremely important in all
I think
aspects of life.
yeah, I think you have. I think what's the highlight of this discussion? We can find out as being proactive, because there's nothing which can replace a human touch. You
Yes,
cannot replace a human touch with anything,
that's right.
because you can touch someone else, just the only way is by a human touch. So if you are proactively, being trying to connect to people, and trying to help them, eventually they will help you out. Eventually you will get the results that back from them. So I think that's a very important uh, discussion for our audience as well, like how to manage this, because I have many friends for whom this social networking, this personal networking is very tricky. They don't know what to do in the social situations. But the problem with them is they have not tried it. They are not being proactive. It's not
Right.
something which is this alien thing, which is this NASA science. It's very simple. If you fail it, try it. If you fail again, try it. Eventually you will get it. But one very important question which comes up again and again and again in the society, especially in India, is how the women are, how the women are standing on the nation's platform, where they are actually. So I have personally seen my mother struggling. I have seen other women struggling as well. But I want to take your thoughts. Like, let's go 2 decades back, when we were about to turn of the century, when we were in 1990s, and 1999, 98, and then now we are at 2020. So these 2 decades, how the women were and how the women currently are, like, what are your thoughts? Are we actually evolving, or is it just a social media hype, or we have evolved much more than we are aware of? So what are you thinking? What's your thoughts on it?
So, Abhijit, I have to say that on women, we have come a long way, right? From where
Yeah,
you are saying the 2 decades
I
that we've
believe.
covered. And I can even go
Yeah,
back 20 years and 30 years back,
yeah,
where women didn't have voting rights. And I'm
yeah,
talking globally now, not just in
yeah,
India. We're
yeah,
talking globally where women didn't have voting rights. They couldn't own property. Their money was not their own in the sense they couldn't open bank accounts. All that has changed, right? So that change we can start off with where we're all voting now. The women are
yeah.
voting. They can own property. In fact, the property laws that were brought in, I think this was in 2005 in India, for instance, where the woman got equal rights to
Yes.
inheritance in her father's or her
Very.
husband's property or inheritance
Yeah.
for that matter. So it was not only the son that got it, but equally divided amongst women, married or unmarried, right? So
Yeah.
that was a big change. And I've also seen the women have evolved, as in they have come out. Women in India, for instance, Hindu women in India were always a part of the household. I remember
Mhm.
from my grandmother's time, she never came out. She was in Parda, but her
Mhm.
opinion
Oh,
always counted.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so her opinion always counted. Her husband always came back to her to check
Okay.
and say, am I making the right decision? So, in that sense, I think women in India were a part of it. But having said that, not all over, because
Mhm.
you have women. We haven't seen, I think we still have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but we have
Yeah,
long way to go.
yeah,
So, if
yeah.
I
I
start
believe the
off
same.
with right from professionalism, for instance, the gender bias is still there.
Mhm.
So, for instance, a man will get paid more than a woman, and a
I
woman
believe,
has
yeah,
to work twice as much harder to prove herself to reach that stage, right?
yeah,
We have women who have made it to become CEOs all over globally. And in India, we've had an Indian woman prime minister, which for India is huge. And considering that in the US of A, which is supposed to be is a superpower and a very
yeah,
evolved and developed country, they are
yeah,
not ready for a woman president as
yeah,
yet. I mean, they've had a
yeah,
black president,
yeah,
but they are still not ready for a woman president. I think, in that sense, I think in India, we have evolved. I don't know how we've had women presidents. We've had now. I think they brought up also that the 33% women's
Constituency
presence
seats.
in parliament, and
Yeah.
so we have more women MPs coming in. You have more women holding sarpanch and
Yeah.
BDOs and are becoming IAS officers. The women are just. I feel that women intellectually are superior in a way that they work harder. So they actually absorb more and deliver better, I feel. I could be biased, I could be wrong, but I just feel that. So today, I
Yeah.
think a lot of the companies are changing their policies that a lot of them have to have women on their boards. Okay, so this
Yes.
has become a
Yes.
mandatory rule of all
Yes.
companies. So that's a huge step forward, right? Then their workforce is women. They are now also evolving in the sense that maternity leave is given, which earlier was not
Yes.
the case. They had to
Yes.
work without pay, and now the maternity leave is given to them. Um, so I think women still have a long way to go, but have come a long way from right when we were there. But we have to touch on a lot of more important points, which I think need to be done away. And the government has put in rules, but nobody is really following them. Is the Dowry Act? We have the
Yeah.
Dowry Act in place, but the dowry is a
Still
huge
there.
burden
Still
on
there.
every family, even
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Still
The
there.
poor, especially in the rural areas where they
Yeah.
demand silver or gold, or depending on the job or the man, the educational qualifications of the man, the dowry is demanded according to that. So
So
if he's working in a government sector,
yeah.
he demands more dowry. You were saying something, Abhijeet?
Yeah, I have even. It's not just about the rural scenarios. I have seen. I have seen in. I don't want to quote the name, but I have seen some of my friends. I've heard the news that they have taken the dowry. They have highly educated. They have their degrees. They have their. But I don't know where their common sense is. They are still taking dowry. I don't know
Correct.
whether they are their parents or they are themselves. But if you think it's wrong, then you can ask your parents. It's your marriage. It's your right. You should be standing
Exactly.
for it. And so
Exactly.
one two very important things which I think about in this case about women standing and women standing in our society currently is I think our nation has grown very rapidly because in the past 20-30 years the growth which women has taken in our nation. It's very rapid. It's very what you say. I am forgetting the scientific name, but it's very rapid compared to other nations where US have been independent for I think 200 to 50 years, but their growth has mainly taken place in past 50-60 years.
Yes.
Whereas ourselves, our women has grown enormously in just 20-30 years. So the future is very bright for us. Second thing which I find very important, she educates the whole family is educated even by the
That's
single person. That's why it's very important for the women's education.
that's
So I'm
absolutely
very it's very unfortunate because I think we are connected on Zoom and for us 40-minute deadline for us
yes.
is coming very close. I'm seeing notification. So we have to end the discussion here. And
Okay.
I am very honored and I'm very happy and I hope you enjoyed the discussion. And I
Thank-
hope also that next time when we meet in person, we have a podcast face to face. And the next time when we meet, and the next time when we are releasing the podcast, I hope and I'm sure we will have a larger audience for us. So
Yes.
I'm very thankful to you, and I'm honored you being as a guest for my first podcast. Thank you so much, Rashmani ma'am.
Thank you so much, Abhijit, for having me. And please stay safe and well. And you've touched on very important topics, and I hope I've been helpful to sending out messages to the. You also wanted to touch something. I don't think we have time for that. For the
That's
students,
what.
for the peer pressure,
Yeah,
but perhaps next
yeah,
time. But don't give in to
yeah,
peer pressure. Your life is very precious.
yeah,
Please think before you take any extreme steps. Stay safe
yeah.
and well. Thank you very much.
You too. You too. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.